Okay, today is the 4th of September 2007. We are at the Henry Johnson Charter School in Albany, New York, and we are interviewing Mr. Herman Farley, and the interviewers are Wayne Clark and Eric Stott. And for the record, sir, would you please state your full name and your date of birth?
Okay, my name is Herman Devon Farley, and my date of birth is 11/3/46.
Okay, sir. And whereabouts did you grow up?
Well, I was born in Columbus, Georgia, and we stayed there. Well, I was there until about the first or second grade, and we moved to Cleveland. And my father was a brick mason, and he worked with a company, I think it was Applebaum, and that's how we got north. You know, he followed the company. We stayed in Cleveland for maybe 3 or 4 years, and then eventually we got to a place called Ithaca, New York, and that's where I really grew up. Fabulous place. I think I had probably about the best childhood that anybody could have. I just really, and I'm very thankful to my father for bringing us up. He had 8 children, or still have 8 children, and everyone went to school, to college. And my father's name was Robert Farley, and he is an upstanding person. He's about the best brick mason that I've ever seen in my life, and he's legendary in Ithaca, New York. My father, can I?
Sure,
yeah,
sure.
My father, and I hope not to get emotional, but
You can stop the camera for
Yeah.
telling us about your dad.
yeah, he outstanding bricklayer, and he was in World War II also, and he and a lot of guys like him participated in that war. And when he came back, unfortunately, they didn't receive the glory that a lot of people did. They were still second-class citizens, but they loved this country just as I do. And I'll tell you about my experiences later, before I went to Vietnam. But I just wanted the world to know that I think this country owes just much gratitude to these guys. They went and fought, even though they know they were not really appreciated, but they still had enough gumption to go and fight for this country. They truly loved the country. And I just love my father and mother, but for what they've done for us, for my brothers and sisters. I had 4 brothers and 3 sisters, and you know, we were all fortunate to go to school and get out and meet other people, and do some of my brothers and sisters are doing just fabulous things.
Okay, and you completed high school,
Yeah, Ithaca High School, the Little Red.
and then you went on to college?
Right, went on to college in Utica, a place called Mohawk Valley. Was there for a couple of years, was having too much fun. In my second year, I'm not doing enough work, and that's when I got a call from Uncle Sam. And he wanted me to meet him in Syracuse, New York. And that's where I went and received my physical, and I guess received the okay, and got my orders, you know, to meet down at Fort Dix.
So you were drafted.
I was drafted. Oh yes, I was.
Okay.
U.S., but they call it U.S.
Okay, so you went to Fort Dix.
Fort Dix.
And you had your basic training there?
Yes.
And that was 8 weeks at that point?
Yes. Yeah, about 8 weeks.
Was that your first time away from home?
No, but it was first time away from home under these circumstances. And the other time you could go home, but this is serious business. And it was quite an experience. When we got there, it was very cold, you know, very icy. And of course the sergeants were very aggressive. They were trying to get us geared up for what we had to do later on.
So you knew you were probably going to Vietnam?
Knew it. All of us, we figured that at least 90% of the people were going to be going. Vietnam was gearing up at that time, and everything was, geared towards Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
And we were a little apprehensive because, nobody really wanted to go and have to put their, life on the line. But I always felt, it was a funny thing. I don't know where it came from, but I always felt that I was always going to come back. And I always felt that if I could protect myself or meet a person one-on-one, there was nobody that was going to take me down. And I just felt like I felt that strongly about it. But I was scared to death, like everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Scared to death.
Now, once you completed your basic training, where did you go for your, what they call AIT, Advanced Individual
Yeah,
Training?
that was at Fort Lee, Virginia. It was a quartermaster school. And that was quite an experience there. I think we were there for about 6 weeks.
Okay.
Tops, it might have been even 4 weeks. But that was, we knew, at that point we knew we were going to Vietnam.
Okay, what was quartermaster school all about?
Well, quartermaster school is, they have cooks and different other administrative type schooling,
Mm-hmm.
stock control, all those things that that you see behind, behind lines to keep the main force going. This is where we would gear up to learn those different trades.
Okay, and what were you being trained to do?
I was being trained to operate a NCR 500 computer for stock control. It's an interesting story behind that. I remember in basic training, I was what they call a platoon guy. And I think that's what really helped me through it, being a platoon guy, because then it made me do things that that maybe what I had a problem with, but I was out the forefront, and I was leading the guys on. They had to do push-ups, I did push-ups, but I always had to be out front, and it just changed me. I was ready to go airborne, everything.
Mm-hmm.
Until I had a sergeant come to me and says, and he was airborne. He says, I don't want you going airborne. He says, you're crazy. He says, what you need to do is go to school, get something so you can use it when you get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
So I signed up for school. And that's how I got to, AIT. And
Okay. Once you graduated, did you have orders for Vietnam?
yes.
Okay.
Yes. We went home, for I think about 20 days, and you lived fast. You tried to do everything you could within that period of time. But you know what was really excruciating? While I was at Fort Lee, Martin Luther King was killed.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what the country was like during that period of time. And it was really rough on the brothers because, there was a lot of talk about, we were being used, we crazy for going to fight for a country that doesn't really respect you, doesn't look what they did to Martin Luther King. It was a lot of, I guess it was mental anguish at that time. You really wanted to believe that what you were doing is right,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, something like this happened. That was major situation. But we figured that we had to still carry on.
Mm-hmm.
We have to carry on, and if we were going to change this country, we'd have to go on, do what we had to do, and then come back and change it. It was a bad time.
Mm-hmm.
It was really, really bad. It's hard to describe how I felt. very confused, very angry, and mainly I think disappointed, because I felt like the country had let me down.
Mm-hmm.
I figured that, look, I'm ready to stand up for the country, and then how could you let something like this happen? But anyway, there were a lot of other things going on too. But that was the thing that stood out.
Okay, so when did you arrive in Vietnam?
Let's see, I think it was, I forget the date, I know it was in June. It might have been, I think it was like June 15th or something like that, 1968.
Now, whereabouts did you land in Vietnam?
Cam Bay. Cam Bay. One of the most incredible sights you'll ever see. The sand is almost as white as these walls here, okay? And the water was just powder blue. But you were coming into a war. It was the craziest thing, And when I remember that.
No, you flew into Cam Bay.
Oh yeah, we flew in.
Okay.
We flew into Cam Bay on a commercial airliner, and that airliner just unloaded us and out. Well, I remember when they opened up the doors and we got to the door, it was like you were walking into a furnace. It was just shocking, and you move quick. From that airplane, you move quick to the other bunkered areas, and that was a shock, But it was, I was young then. It was kind of exciting too, because you knew you were there. You heard all about it, and here you are.
So you were probably at what they call the 90th Replacement Center.
Right.
And then once you were there for, how long were you there before you got your assignment to where you were going to be serving?
Boy, I think it was just a couple of days at the
Okay.
most. I remember standing in line, and they would call us out and give people different assignments, and then if you didn't have anything, they'd sit you down. The 173rd Airborne had just been overrun, and they actually changed some people's orders, where they would be going to another unit. They changed their orders and shipped them out to the 173rd.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I was in line 2 lines back, and I said, oh my God, what's going to happen, But that was shocking, to hear that these guys were overrun. You knew you were there then.
Mm-hmm.
You knew it. Up until that time, I had heard no gunfire and nothing yet, And from there, I did get my orders, and we were flown to Benoit.
Okay, yeah.
And from Benoit, we went to a place called Tent City, and it was at night. And I remember we were escorted by jeeps and other vehicles, with the big machine guns, 50 calibers on them, and came right into Long Binh. And it's something about Long Binh. Long Binh was just, it was kind of a secure feeling, it was big and, just massive size, And there was a lot of other activity going on. There were things going on that I guess I wouldn't associate with a war, It was just all kinds of stuff going on. It was almost like a big city within itself. So.
Okay, and then at that point you were assigned a specific job to do?
No, at that point in Long Binh, we did guard duty every night that we were there, just about every night, until we got our orders to move out of there. See, at that point, we weren't going anywhere. We were just there at another station, and they used us for guard duty.
Okay.
And that was an experience.
All right. And then where did you go from Long Binh?
Long Binh. I got my orders to go to the 11th Armed Cavalry, Xuan Loc.
Xuan Loc.
Mhm.
Okay.
And how we drove. It was a convoy.
Mm-hmm.
It was no fly-in. It was a convoy. And I remember seeing something on that convoy. We were just going along, and we'd have some seasoned people on the truck with us. You know, you can always tell who's been there and who, you know, who's new. And we were, you know, guys I was with fairly new. And I remember this one incident. This guy was on the back of the truck, and the civilians were riding along the side, and he took his weapon. This guy wouldn't move. So he took his weapon and hit him on the head, got flipped over. We just kept going. That was shocking.
Mm-hmm.
That was shocking. But, you know.
Okay. Now, what unit were you assigned to? You were with the 11th Armored Cav.
Mm-hmm.
What was the numerical designation of the company you were with?
The
The battalion?
I can't remember. All I know is that we were, let's see, there's a first and second squad there on our base camp. And I remember the howitzers going off just about every night.
Okay.
I can't remember the numbers
Okay.
where we were.
So what kind of unit were you assigned to? What was your job with the unit?
Oh, our job was to make sure that the supplies were rolling, you know, orders
Okay.
would come in.
So you were still quartermaster?
Oh, yeah, at that time. Oh,
Okay.
yes. Oh, yeah. And we worked in the evenings,
Mm-hmm.
which was kind of nice because we got a chance to sleep during the day. And at night we were up, and at night, you know, that was usually the time when the rockets would come in and mortars would come in. They tried to keep us up all night, but we were already up, so that was helpful.
How often were you hit with rockets or mortars? On a regular basis?
Oh, no, not a regular basis, no. I would say, all the time that I was there, maybe 4 times,
Okay.
you know. One time I remember really distinctively, I was out on the porch, I was looking down towards the helicopter pad, and all these flashes, and they were brilliant. You know, it was almost, in a strange way, it was beautiful. But then for an instant, I looked and said, oh my God, you know, you get your senses back. And I tapped on the door, and they came out, and we ran back to the company area. On the way back to the company area, I remember I developed cramps in my legs, both of my legs.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember kind of running through it, but it was just incredible. I couldn't stop, you know, because I was scared to death. And we go to the company area. From there, we would load up and go to the berm, you know, in preparations to, you know, to back up, you know, the people on guard duty.
What was the base ever under direct attack?
I can remember twice. One time they brought in that, what do we call it, spooky,
Mm-hmm.
the C-130 to get, and I remember hearing it come, and this was after a rocket attack, and they were throwing in mortars, and then, you know, there was fire from the tower, from the, you know, from the bunkers, and they were throwing up flares, and what happened was, when Spooky came in and just banked, just went right around. It just started, just that red lead coming down like a sheath. Went around, came back, went around again, came back, went back down south.
And that took care of it.
Everything was quiet. Everything was quiet. That was God. You know, it's incredible to see that. And it makes you wonder, with everything that we had, and there are things over there we never heard of that were being used. How is it that we couldn't overcome? And I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that, you know, the country didn't have the will to fight. The men were there. We were there. We were going to do our job, but we didn't get the support.
Mm-hmm.
As simple as that,
Right.
you know.
Did you have any interaction at all with the civilian population?
Yes, yes, yes. We had people that worked on the base camp, and people that would, you know, work in our areas to help clean up things, and they had different, you know, we even had a PX on our base camp.
Mm-hmm.
And we had people working in there. They had various things. They had massage parlors there. People working in the cafeteria, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny, you know, you develop a relationship with people, and you just, you know, I mean, you know, there are a lot of guys that call them gooks.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't do that because I know what, in my world, I know what we were being called.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I said, wait a minute, how am I going to call them gooks? You know, I always referred to them as civilian, or Charlie was the enemy. That was it. I think the people that worked there were grateful to see us there. Of course, you know, there might have been one or two who were doing things, you know, for the VC, but for the most part, then we got a chance to go down to Xuan Loc every now and then. And because we couldn't go shopping or taking tours, we had designated areas that we were going to, and that was it. And the people, for the most part, were friendly, and I think happy to see us there. And one incentive was that they were glad to get that money too. Mm-hmm. And we were spending a lot of money. So.
Okay. Yeah. And what were race relations like in your unit? Was there ever any problems or anything? Or?
I think we had a lot of discussions, and I think by the mere fact that people were carrying weapons, that they really didn't get out of hand. Mm-hmm. I think people know how far to go. If there were people there, it's strange to sit there and to have the discussions that we were having, and then to get hit at night, and then to go to the berm, and to be laying on the road and having a person that you might have had a discussion with grab you out of their legs and say, hey, we're going to get them if they come over, huh? We're going to get them. I said, damn right we're going to get them.
So everybody stuck together.
Listen, as they go when the shit hit the fan, mm-hmm. People were just together. Mm-hmm. That's funny. It's funny, you think about that. It takes something like that to make people come together. I used to have this fantasy when I was a child. I said, well, you know what? It was kind of like that War of the Worlds thing. Like if the world was ever attacked by aliens, then we would come together. Mm-hmm. Then we'd become really sisters and brothers. We'd have a common cause. So when the enemy came in and threw those rockets in and mortars, that was a common cause. Mm-hmm. And we were together then. No problem. But we still had the issues that we had to live with. You know, they were at home. And I think what happened in Vietnam, it changed a lot of people. I think it changed a lot of people. Mm-hmm. I've heard people tell me that. One guy in particular told me, he says, you know, Herman, I don't think the way I used to. He said, I just want you to know that. And that was all he just had to say, you know. And I know where he was coming from. The gentleman, he was from Kentucky. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it just, I think it changed a lot of people. One of the things that I would wish is that everybody, it'd be mandatory for everybody to at least go through basic training. Just basic training. You don't have to do anything else but go through basic training.
Mm-hmm.
That would change a lot of people. It would make a lot of people grow up. I know it helped me to grow up, and I saw it help a lot of other people grow up. Basic training is a shocker in the way we were doing it. I don't know what they do now, but we were preparing for, going over there. So, but if this whole country had to go through something like that, at a certain age, you're required to just go through basic training. Man, I think we'd have a different outlook on life.
Mm-hmm.
I really do.
Now, how long did you stay in Vietnam?
I was there for a year. The Marines used to stay there for 13 months. They always had to do it one step more.
Mm-hmm.
But we were just there for a year. And I think, it is the most incredible time of my entire life. I will never, ever forget it. I will never forget the feelings that I had, just the appreciation for living. I told myself I would never take things for granted again. Of course I do, but all you need to do is to think back,
Mm-hmm.
think back to the monsoons, how uncomfortable you were, how the mold would get in your shoes. Think back all those things that you have to do without. It's just, what an incredible time. I remember listening to Hannah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you might have heard her. I remember her saying to us, brothers, what are you doing here? Why are you fighting us? We're not bothering you. When you go back home, you're going to have to fight. And she said, well, I want you to think about it. She said, here's a song by Aretha. That's the way she phrased it.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a song by Aretha. And she knew Aretha. And I remember at that time, none of the brothers had heard that song, It was shocking to see her have it, It's amazing.
Now, when did you leave Vietnam?
In June of '69. Got home in time to see man go to the moon. Incredible.
Mm-hmm.
But left in June of '69. I remember we flew. Now this time we flew out of the base camp on a C-130. Flew to Long Binh. No, Benoit. And there was a Seaboard airplane coming in, and it was probably a 737 or something like that. We were just lined up on the wall, just getting ready to get off. It's incredible. I can't describe the feeling.
Mm-hmm.
I can't describe that feeling. Airline comes in, these guys get off. And they had, I'm trying to find something, that brilliant, and you could smell it when they got off, that new khaki smell.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, that was
All new
incredible.
clothes.
All new clothes, they look so fresh.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They look so, fresh. And then it just hit me. I said, oh man, how many of these guys are not coming back? They don't know what they're coming into. They got them off, got them on a cattle truck, and refueled that plane, turned that plane around, loaded us up. We got on the plane. I was a nervous wreck. Then the captain gets on and says, we're going to be delayed for a few minutes. They're practice firing down at the end of the runway. I looked at my friend, this is Johnny Crawford. I said, you're going to be kidding me. He says, they're not practice firing. He said, you know what that is. I know. So after about 15 minutes, we start taxiing. And then when he goes down, the plane, you know how normally jets will go like this?
Mm-hmm.
Well, this went vertical. It just went, it just hit it and just climbed straight up. And you could feel the G-force, and you said, oh my God. And then when we leveled off, the guys started screaming. You know, we were so happy. And then when we left the airspace, the guys went nuts. They made the announcement that we were on our way home.
I'm still listening. I mean,
Hey, that's it. But just incredible, just incredible. And then to see the country, we came back and I think it was, we came back along the Alaskan way and flew down to Oakland. Okay, we could see the mountains.
Mm-hmm.
It was just incredible. And we landed in Oakland, and it was just incredible. I don't know what else to say.
Now, you were discharged from Oakland?
No. I went home, stayed for about a month,
Uh-huh.
and I was assigned to go to Germany. And so I went to Germany, and my father was having a little trouble with his business at home. And I wrote to my congressman, I think at the time was Howard Robeson, and out of Binghamton. And I explained to him, I said, look, you know, I'm not going to do you any good here in Germany. I mean, there's a lot of people here taking up. I said, I've gone to Vietnam. I believe in the country. I've done what I could. I need to go home and help my father. I told him, I said, basically, all I'm going to do here is just have a great time. I told him I'd rather be home working.
Mm-hmm.
I was out about 2 months. And I went home to help my father with his business. And I was so grateful that I could do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I was grateful that I had the opportunity to actually go to Vietnam and come back. You know, and then I fell in love with the country.
Mm-hmm.
And I started believing more and more in the principles. And I think there were a lot of guys we talked about. They said, we're not going to take any shit and go back. And after seeing this, nobody is going to walk over us. We're going to participate. See? That's what I think I've done.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to take it.
Did you make use of the GI Bill at all?
Oh, yes, I did. I went to Ithaca College. Oh, and graduated in 72. And, you know, it was just, I was very fortunate to get that money, the GI Bill,
Mm-hmm.
and made good use of it. And I was really appreciative of it. And I got a business degree from Ithaca College and managed to play some football there. Great school for football.
Mm-hmm.
But I was an old man at that time, you know? I think I was about, 23, 24. That's an old man.
Did you stay in contact with anyone you were in the service with?
For a while, and then gradually things just, you know, it's unfortunate, but we never intended for it to be like that, because we promised each other, we're going to keep in touch, and we did. I say for a good year or so. And then after that, you know, things, you know, just took over. Life.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Did you ever attend any kind of reunions or anything?
no, I never had, I was never fortunate enough to do that.
Okay. Did you join any veterans organizations?
Well, I'm a member of the Henry Johnson's group here in Albany. And at one point, I was thinking about joining the American Legion back in Ithaca. And at that time, I guess it was not cool, you know, I think I wanted to fit in, so I didn't really want to identify as a staunch, military person. But I remember an incident in school, and it was in one of my, what they call organizational behavior classes. And there were some people talking about, I got on the subject of Vietnam and baby killers and people, they're just doing things, and, to civilians, and we were just massacring people, and on and on and on. And I just couldn't take it anymore. I remember taking my notebooks, just, slamming on the desk. And everybody looked at me. And I was surprised that I did it, but I just couldn't take it anymore.
Uh-huh.
And my teacher says, Mr. Farley, do you have something to say? I said, yes, I do. And I basically told him, if you weren't there, if you've never smelt Vietnam, if you've never tasted it, if you've never seen anything, how can you speak on it? How would you know how it feels to be shot at?
Mm-hmm.
How would you know how it feels to be away from your parents and friends and not really knowing if you're going to make it back? How would you know? Nobody can answer it. I just said no. That was it. But I had a great time in college. I had a great time.
Mm-hmm.
I will never let anybody downgrade my participation in Vietnam, because I believed in this country, and I didn't particularly like a lot of things that were going on, but I wasn't going to let somebody else come in here and change it. I thought we need to do that.
Mm-hmm.
It's our country. That's it.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your interview.
Thank you.